So, it's around 11 o'clock right now. And, it's a certain stillness to things. I have to be kind of quiet. But I like it. It's kind of like a pleasant sort of limbo. But I thought it'd be a good time to talk about something, to share with you, share with all of you, something that I composed, and it's called The Last Person One Talks to. Farewell, speaking life. Farewell the prodigious and corrupt instinct, sensate, emotion. Farewell the mutability of all things, stupidly frank things that once inspired me to thread a simpler chaos that I could not make simple, because I recognized the chaos before the purity. In the end, I was too obliging of the chaos as an explanation in itself. I was vigorously channeling an inadequate desire, or inadequately channeling a vigorous desire. The desire to collect my own base life in words. And now I was finished with that. The rest after being mere cerebral chafing. But this life which is not fully satisfied, that if met halfway would satisfy still less, and dwindle by the grace of my own disillusionment to profane hazenas. Though indeed I would have been getting the whole thing, but in parts that I assume fade away, since it would be that I no longer existed in them. They would have continued to exist, however, had I not immediately, violently dismissed the parts as having nothing to do with the whole, waiting instead for the whole to come before my eyes after the fact of an unprecedented cause, finished in itself, without me needing to add anything. And so to my dismay, my perception views what I perceive as unfinished, if such a picture were not of my own face. My own brain was working, yes, but the singular aspect of life, the permanence of it, went suddenly missing. Did I exist before the idea? I need the whole part of being. I need distortions and injustice in order to chug on, in order to have something to push up against. So I think about all this in the elevator and wonder that such things are powerful only because I thought them without being prompted. The elevator door opens to the scene of a languishing dialogue between the blinking, muscular doorman and an old lady who, it seems by this point, has given up on being stimulating enough to get a response out of him, and no longer pauses between ideas as a way to grant a claim in edgewise. I had experienced her blobby articulations before. It had always been monotonous and of little interest to me. However, this time, in the eternity of her baffling quest to couch meanings in discomfort, I found my own eternity of self. I find something suddenly very profound in her fat words, and become I'm strangely annoyed with this doorman who blinks with more and more resilience as her tangents breed like hamsters and immediately rot. Out of respect for this lady and her possible wisdom, I make my presence known through a peremptory salutation and put in my 2 cents. Yeah, it was the polite thing to do, but it soon seemed more as though I'd done what I had done because within me welled a kind of pathos, a certain brooding empathy. Empathy that she soon would be as I would be soon, head shaking perpetually, and smiling, with a senile sort of lag in her old poise, without knowing where it was that I was going. Well, you know, it's weird. I'd always thought about stuff just for the sake of thinking about it. And then only when I write it down do I realize there was a purpose for me to think about it. And that purpose was to write it down, so that I could see by elucidating what formerly was only in my mind. By seeing something like that as tangible, it makes it more real to me, but it's a surreal real, you know? I mean, death is such an interesting concept. Besides taxes, it's the only certain thing. Hamlet feared an undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveler returns. But I think if one were to tinker enough with their mind, they would understand that to throw oneself upon the sword is as easy as finding the sharpest knife in the softest belly. In order for the act to be properly carried out and sustained until the desired effect, that is, dying, the armor that protects the pride one has for their personality must be properly eroded to dust. Muscles that flex on in hopes of fattening the sinews of one's self-respect, those muscles must atrophy. The brain must atrophy. The mind must be derelict. The body must become mush. In short, one's personality must be properly deflated, limp, defeated, so that when finally popped with a pin, it will not hiss out too much air. Deciding to die, fantasizing about coming to the decision, thinking about the act itself. Philosophical implications, finally snuffing out a particularly unbearable wick. These thoughts inch across the ectoplasm of my skull, seep just a bit of their dark theories into my conscious mind, especially the poetic and almost laughably Faustian sentiments associated with sacrificing oneself for the sake of proving the unflinching stoicism of the world around you. It is quite passive-aggressive, but sometimes one character is not fortified enough to address a problem with an appropriate degree of anger, and must lamely reply to a perestroika of monarchic demands with simpering affability, while while secretly shrouding a blue bruise of callow malice for those who unknowingly contribute to your fear of the world. Well, there it is.